Podcast. My name is David. I'm your host, and I'm joined by Ron. Wow, that was awful timing for that throat grog.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Hey, it's Monday morning for us. How are you doing this morning after a big weekend? Wrapping up our money series.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Just good.
Yeah, it's it's been a fantastic start to the fall. Like we're now early November, and September, October was amazing, and we're in a very intense season as a church, and I just love what we're doing. But it comes with, you get tired. But that's the verse in Colossians, right, that you and I talk about quite often. And for this I toil, in the struggling with the energy and the power that works within me. And I'm loving it. I'm just navigating some of the energy drain moments where you get like, like yesterday afternoon after the talk, it was like I realized that this 3-week series on money actually took a lot more out of me than what I realized. I was like, oh wow, okay, just the focus, the intentionality, the teaching for 3 weeks on money and giving and stuff. But I you know what, I love it. That's what God has called me to do, and I just have to pay attention to it. So.
I saw a post, I'm probably going to butcher it, but someone on our Exeter team mentioned how much a blessing it is to be exhausted for the gospel.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's so cool. That's not the exact wording, but it was like, it was around the blessing of like, man, the hard work that I've been putting into advancing God's kingdom and serving him and people being reached. And it was just a great way to like see that, like, like we're tired. And like, I know like our producer, Josh, his wife always says like well spent. And when she was on staff, she would talk about that. And I think for us as followers of Jesus, like we need to realize like, there is an urgency to carry the gospel. And when you're tired after doing a long day work of working maybe your job, but also sharing your faith or serving at church or doing something on the weekend that is going to reach people and impact people's lives, like instead of complaining about how tired you are, what if it was a posture shift to like, man, I am so exhausted, but I'm not going to focus on the physical or mental exhaustion. I'm going to like just rejoice that I got to be partnering with God. And what's funny is people could be like, well, of course you're going to say that. You're a pastor. You're supposed to. But like, it's actually a blessing that God who died on a cross for us asked us to partner with him in the advancement of who he is and what he's doing in people's lives. And it's just such a great shift to the posture of the mind and the heart and the soul to realize that we get to do this.
Well, it's a privilege to carry this kind of responsibility. And the important piece of it is the differentiation between where I start, where it ends, where, that type of thing. And just from a pastoral perspective, but and making sure that your value doesn't come from the effort of the work. It actually comes from our value in Christ. And, but it's been good. It's been a great series, man. I am so incredibly proud of our community. Like our church, like it's the best. Like I think that the broader sense of the community has allowed us to speak into this for 3 weeks when our site pastor is bringing call to actions and hosts and teaching. And it has been such a great journey. We talk about it before we hit record, right?
Yeah, it's one of these pivotal moments. And,
pivotal is right.
Really one of these pivotal moments. And let's jump in, like, because we wrapped up the series more than enough, talking about the reality of the heart behind the wallet, God's storehouse, and then obedient generosity. I thought this was like, even just the titles of there, like it was such a beautiful walk and journey together, which helped me as a follower of Jesus and as a husband and as a father realize the importance of knowing God's truth behind the money or the resources that we receive for the hard work we do. But this past week, man, like I knew where we were going, but obedient generosity, like I don't think I've ever heard it taught like this. like, and I've grown up in the church all my life. Like, where did this come from for you? Like, I know, like you study, you put these things together, you seek advice and counsel from other people. Like, when it landed for you, what was the aha moment of landing it like this for a series? Instead of being like, well, just give 10%, be obedient about it, because you see that done online is terrible.
I wanted to make sure that ending this way with obedience and our giving, allowing the grace to flow, I wanted, honestly, I wanted it to get beyond the individual.
Cool.
I wanted us to see this as a corporate community of the church. And so for me, it was getting it way beyond the individual and recognize that actually when we are obedient in our giving, that increases the flow of grace to extend into places and spaces where God has called us to. I know that Vitalpoint Church has a very, very unique assignment, calling, future. And with that comes the responsibility of us as a church, like the churches in Macedonia, to understand the urgency and the earnesty of and to excel in this area. That's all those words that came from the passage in Corinthians that we're looking at. And I just love the fact that from these three churches, Philippi, Thessalonica, and Berea, that they teach us what it actually means to understand that the grace flows in, and as it flows out, it multiplies the kingdom. So I needed us to see this as a bigger conversation, and that's why we landed it the way we did. And putting a series together, it's a wonderful journey of like this was planned months ago, like months and months and months ago.
I think it was like June.
Yeah, if not,
like that.
Yeah, something like that when I started doing that stuff. But it's to me, it's just an exciting journey and process. And back in the day when we were doing series, we would have to, sit down with books for days on end. And what is really great now with some of the tools that are out there is the ability to get concepts, get ideas, get direction. And then with the tools that are out there, you can actually put these together and then begin to manipulate it to your context. And then, it's just a wonderful, wonderful time to be the church and to be preaching and teaching. And then when you get these things, like what every person is going to have to do that's in our community or listening to this when it comes to giving, is it's the hard work of digging into these truths and then making sure that it's true for me as I'm communicating it to the people, right? So, which is really, really fantastic and exciting.
You had one visual that I think, I don't know if you used it in every service in Poplar Hill Live, but definitely in our video sites. You use the hose analogy.
Yeah, the garden hose.
Hooking up to the hose. Yeah, the garden hose outside the house to the tap. When you turn it, it's the grace of God, the fresh water coming out, right?
Yeah.
That we do not deserve. Yeah. Like, that was so good. Yeah. And by the way you broke down the gospel in the first like 2-3 minutes of the message going to Romans, and like I was just like, man, this is a clinic on how to present the gospel in a very plain but powerful way, not have to be like so wordy. It was amazing. But the grace in the gardening hose being opened up and it flows through it and should shoot out and continue to pour out, right? The continued grace. Yeah. But sometimes in our individualistic mindset, or I would say even our scarcity mindset, is that we kink the hose and cut off the grace that God desires us to freely give because it's been freely given to us. It is a gift. And that scarcity mindset for me when I was sitting there is like, man, I don't have enough, so I better cut it off quickly.
Yeah.
And then kind of unkink it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, obviously my wife and I, like, we give regularly, but like even the generosity out more than the tithe, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's ours, right? So we'll kink it. How did that come to you? That was
I have
gold,
no
dude.
idea. I have no idea.
That was a Holy Spirit moment.
Yeah.
Then, right?
When I was putting it all together, I was just like the hose analogy. I don't know if I said it in the video, but in Poplar Hill, it was funny because I said, the hose, the grace flowing through the hose isn't to fill up the hot tubs for us to sit in the bubbles of grace.
Dude, you said that.
Did it?
It was so good. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because in the first service of Poplar Hill, I didn't intend it to be funny. I intended it to become somewhat serious, and everyone started laughing.
Yeah.
And I was like,
but it's reality. It's like often we take the grace of God and we sit in the comfort of like, ooh,
I love these bubbles.
Look at the bubble. Yeah, I get to enjoy this moment for myself.
Yeah. It was good, Dave,
man.
I don't know. Like, this, when you're writing a talk, you're sitting in these moments and you're literally just pounding out a script, or after you've studied, and then you're pounding out a script, and you're like, oh, this garden hose thing sounds interesting. And you do things to try to catch people's imagination, because everyone's had a hose kinked off at some point. You're like, why isn't this hose working? And then you go over and you unkink it, and you're like, oh, there, now it's flowing. And the churches in design, I mean, that's what it was for these churches in Macedonia. From verse 1, they understood that the grace that they had received in abundance. And so they actually, in their giving, was demonstrating the actual power of grace, because it was received, then it was released. Received, and then released. And they didn't want Paul to stop them. And that's incredible. And then he says to the church of Corinth, you excel in all these things, but I need you to excel in the act of grace, which is the act of giving.
Yeah. And if you think about it, right, like church history, like this act of pouring out the free grace that's been given to us is the reality, is when you take care of the storehouse of God, right? When you give back to God what is his, you're able to meet the poor, right? So like you think about church history, like this is how hospitals were created. This is how education was put together. Orphanages, right? Like those are all, like church history all comes back to that. Like why we have hospitals now is because the church.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we have an education system. It's interesting because the world has taken it all over and tried to make it its own. But it stemmed from the generosity and the giving of Christians that saw a need.
Yeah, exactly.
David, the real point of the entire series was, can I trust God? And if we truly are grasped by the abundance of grace, then we can. God in his goodness saved us. He, by his grace, extended to us. So undeserved, but yet he extended to us. The natural outflow from that is a place of gratitude. It's the recognition of I'm no longer my own. I think that that's an interesting piece, David. I was thinking about this. What does a fully devoted follower of Jesus look like? Someone who recognizes they're no longer their own.
Wow.
Yeah. They know that they've been purchased and they're under new ownership. And it's, I'm no longer my own. The old is gone, the new has come. I'm crucified with Christ.
Christ.
Yeah. So I think that's, oftentimes, which means the outflow of that is the natural flow of obedience. Can we talk about, do you want to talk about 2 Kings right now?
Yeah, I do. But before you go there, I something that hit me this morning as I was pondering this was, if we could have added one more week to the series, I think it would have been really beautiful, because we talk about like, hey, we have more than enough. God, like do we fully trust God with the things that he has given us, right? If we could have added one more week to the series of how to manage your money, I think that would have done a beautiful thing for people. Because I think what ends up happening is we don't know exactly what every dollar, every cent is doing. So then when it comes to giving, we're like, whoa, I can't do that because I don't have enough. Right. So I'm willy-nilly with my money.
So you're a testimony to this, and others are too. Some came forward and asked about this, because the 3 parts of the series were basically about giving. Do I trust God in obedience and giving? One of the questions from one of the young guys, Cody, he was like, I love the series. It impacted him deeply. He's a new Christian. He said, but because he's a money guy, he said, what about helping people learn proper budgeting? You and Hannah are phenomenal at this. You know where every dollar is going with intention, with purpose. I said to Cody after the service, I said, man, like I do believe that we need to look at and examine in the future running a money course. It's separate from a Sunday. Because people are coming in, like I said at the beginning of the series, people had to discern and filter this through. Like some people are sitting in the rooms that their spouses don't come with them to church and are not believers yet. And then others are under a massive load of debt that they've allowed themselves to get into, living beyond their means, believing the lies that they can buy this furniture and pay for it in 24 months. And then that 24 months comes around, they don't have the money. And all the aspects of this. So I think that there's a piece of this where, and I'm not saying we're going to do this immediately, but I believe in the discipleship of people in our church. It would be very wise for us to find some really good teachers on this and do some teaching on budgeting. And
really we had two people in our life when we got married, and we'll get into First Kings in a second. And Hannah and I coming into marriage.
We'll do Second Kings.
Second Kings.
Yeah.
We came in marriage, loads and loads of debt.
Yeah.
And the reality is we sat with them at their kitchen table and they said, give to God what already is his and know what every dollar does and watch him do what he does.
Yeah.
And ever since then, like we saw that debt be paid off.
Yeah.
In 2 years, I think it was the initial debt, the big one. And it was just like, that didn't even make sense.
Yeah.
It did not make sense.
And you're essentially, other than your house, you're debt free.
Yeah, we're completely debt free right now. It's just our house,
which gives you freedom.
Oh, dude, I was able to give to a buddy that has to raise his own salary to do work out in BC, and it was amazing to be like, "Yo, bro, like I can actually do it."
Yeah, yeah.
And him and his wife were so excited.
And you do so good on making $20,000 a year. That's amazing.
Bro, you're wild.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Cool. Go to Second Kings. Second Kings.
Oh man, I was thinking about this morning in obedience. It's the story of the widow with the sons, and the creditors are coming, asking her for her debts to be paid. And they're going to take her sons as slaves. And ancient times. And she goes to Elisha, and Elisha says, "What do you have?" And she says, "I have this jar of oil." And he says, "Great, go and get a bunch of vessels, and it's as many as empty vessels, and not too few." He says, this is in 2 Kings 4, and not too few, which means get as many as you can.
Yeah, load up,
and then go and shut the door. You yourselves and your sons pour it into all the vessels, and then one was full, set it aside. So there's this thing, and then verse 5, first 3 words. So she went, and then following that, she started pouring the oil into the vessels, and they kept filling up and filling up and filling up until she goes, "Get me another vessel." And the boys say, "There's not another." And it's like, you didn't grab enough. But to me, it's more. The story isn't about the miracle of the flow of the oil. The story is about so she went. Yeah. Sometimes we live with an expectation that God is supposed to bless us. But if we're lacking in our obedience, how do we expect him to bless us? Malachi 3:10 says, "Test me." Right? And for me, as I want to wrap this up for our community, it really comes down to truly an obedience thing. It's not about generosity. It's about the obedience in following her lead. So she went. And for us as a church, with what God has called us to, that each and every one of us can be truly part of something bigger than ourselves. The world is bidding for your money, telling you to prioritize the things of this world. And at the end of the day, if we have prioritized just the things of this world with our money, it will all be for nothing. And what is so beautiful is that by God's design, because he's seeking our best, that he has designed it for us, that we can actually live into and know what it is like to be a contributor in the kingdom beyond just our spiritual gifts, but through our money. And as we prioritize the things of the kingdom, the advancement of his kingdom is multiplied. It's the sowing and reaping, right? It's the posture of taking the reality of the first fruits. God, I'm going to show you that I am no longer my own. I acknowledge that the price was paid. There's other things that you do to show that, but there's Romans 12 talks about a living sacrifice. It is the reality of a fully devoted follower is someone who lives in the place of recognition. I am no longer my own. I was purchased with a price. So as we think about what this series has done, and I believe that this, you use the word pivotal, and it is, over and over and over again over the last 3 weeks. And I'm glad that our Connect groups are wrestling with this. I really felt, David, that the fruit of this particular series is going to be experienced for years to come.
Wow.
And that's just not me wishful thinking. It's not just me trying to hype up our church. No, it is. We all had this sense, the readiness, the anticipation. I had people walking by me on Sunday before the service going, I can't wait for this series today. I'm looking forward to this. And that's just not normal. And so there is the Spirit's preparation. It's exciting.
It's a great way to wrap it up, man. Yeah. Definitely a pivotal moment.
I really hope if people have listened to the end of this podcast and you're watching on YouTube or please drop your comments in, share your stories, like this, share this. And I hope that people, my desire is that people get past the first 5 minutes of banter and get into the rest of this. And maybe the description needs to be watch to the end.
Watch to the end. There's our title. Clip it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Ron. Just a few things before we wrap up. Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
Okay. It is coming. And it is, all of our tickets are live on our website for every single service across the board at each of our sites, including Grand Bend, which is wild. Man, oh man. So make sure you're sharing that link with friends. And maybe on Sunday, you got a packet of cards, 3, 4, 5 cards to hand out to friends. I want to put a disclaimer. Those are not the tickets. Those are your invites to friends. They can scan the QR code, grab a ticket for whatever site, whatever time that they're going to be at, which is a lot of fun. We're praying that this Christmas season would be one where their lives are transformed and they
simple
get
invitation,
to
Dave.
Life. Yeah,
simple.
Hey, would you come to church with me? We're not responsible for their answer, but we're responsible for the invite.
Exactly.
Amazing. And then this Sunday coming up, we start a brand new series called "This Is Eternal Life," looking at. I'll tell you, Ron, this is my favorite chapter of the whole Bible, John chapter 17. Jesus' prayer in the upper room, or no, not the Last Supper.
Yeah,
in that time frame.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, it's gonna be so sick.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Prayer for us. Okay, thanks, dude. This is amazing. Thanks. I love Monday mornings. And hey, I'm going on vacation, so while you guys are experiencing this like cold, dreary weather, I'm gonna be in Florida. I'm
not saying anything. Nah, good. You've been working hard. You get away with your wife and your son. We'll take the grandkids.
Yeah, you got this. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a good, amazing, and blessed day. Peace out.